The issue of sag, I think, is also something which I think it is a major critical area is to set the bike sag up. I mean, the balance of the bike is very important front to back. So in other words, you know, if you weigh more than say 88 kilos and you change a spring, you've got to change front and back springs. Otherwise, you're throwing the whole balance of the bike out. I mean, a bike is like a pendulum. I mean, it has a center of gravity and it can tilt this way or that way. And a long travel bike, like a dirt bike, it can tilt a lot that way and a lot this way. So if you don't keep that balance right, then the bike's going to start having funny characteristics. The geometry changes, the whole dynamics of the bike change through the different balances. So yeah, if you're heavy and you change a shock spring, you've got to change a fork spring. And the easiest way to see if your spring's right for you is to set sag values. You've got to have static sag and you've got to have a certain rider sag. And if you get one right and the other's wrong, then you know the spring's wrong. You both have got to relate to each other. It's a relationship between the static sag and the rider sag which determines if the spring is right for you. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. You know, they'll set up what we call rider sag at 105, say, but then their static sag value, which is the value the bike sags under its own weight, is completely out. And that is an indication that your spring is wrong. And at the end of the day, it's that relationship between static and rider sag which is the key to choosing a right spring. So I mean, what we're doing now is checking out what we call static sag on the motorcycle, right? So what this means is that we put the bike on the center stand with the wheel in the air and measure the distance from the center of the rear axle to a point on the rear fender or on the side of the bike, depending on what's convenient. Here we use the rear fender. We made a mark on the fender and we have what we call now just a reference point, okay? Now, ideally what happens when we take the bike off the stand, it has to settle under its own weight a certain amount. And generally speaking, this is around about 3 centimeters. Okay, it differs a little bit from bike to bike, but it can be anything between 2.5 and 4 centimeters is the range you should be within. And if you're out of that range, then you have incorrect static sag. And this static sag then must relate also to the rider sag. But it is vital on any bike that you have a certain amount of static sag. Generally speaking, 3 centimeters is for a bike with a linkage system good, and 3.5 for a bike with non-linkage. But anywhere between 3 and 3.5 centimeters, you're really in the ballpark. Okay, so now when I sit on the bike, my rider sag is 105, which is, in terms of my static sag, the relationship is perfect. So what this indicates to me now is that I have exactly the right spring for my weight. So I mean, it's this relationship between the rider sag and the static sag which is vital when you set your bike up.